Jumping into the number 5 spot of the top 5 best 1440p gaming monitors of 2025 is the LG 27GS60QC-B. Coming in at a price of $249.99. But if you want to check out any of the 5 gaming monitors in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But let's talk about that LG. Firstly, the 27GS60QC's price is very rarely at $249.99. Usually it's actually below 200 bucks. A lot of times you can find it for well under 200 bucks. So check the links below for current pricing. They do fluctuate a lot. For that money, you get a 27-inch screen size. This is a VA panel, but it has a special thing with it, which is one, a 1000R curve, so it is a curved monitor, but then two, the matte finish on this panel is very, very thin, which adds to a lot of the overall experience to this monitor. This is 180 Hz and has FreeSync Premium that works great with G-Sync. For console compatibility, here it is, but let's talk brightness and colors. This tested in at 320 nits of brightness. However, it does visually appear to look slightly brighter when compared to normal monitors with normal matte finishes. Because this matte finish is less intense, you get an increased boost in visual clarity, contrast ratio, and the overall brightness and like highlights. This monitor just pops. Now this covers 99% of the sRGB color gamut, and out of the box, this thing looks absolutely amazing and better than every other VA panel anywhere near its price point that I've tested. Colors look vibrant and saturated, and the white balance was extremely accurate, so nothing looks off here. The accuracy here is actually very impressive. Also, because this is a VA panel, you do get a better contrast ratio, leading to better blacks, and that does make a difference here. But let's talk about gaming and specifically ghosting. How is it here? Well, this is still a VA panel. That being said, in brighter areas of the screen, this thing is fast. It really does have phenomenal motion clarity without really any noticeable ghosting. However, in darker areas, this does have ghosting. Now that's typical of VA panels, less ghosting in the brighter areas, more ghosting in the darker areas, but this one is really good in bright areas. Just in the dark areas, that's where you will see and notice some ghosting. However, with ghosting, this is still one of the best VA panels we've ever tested. It's really impressive for that price point. In game, the experience is honestly shocking just how good this is considering the price. The colors are beautiful and vibrant. The overall clarity of the image looks excellent due to that less intense matte finish. And then getting 180 Hz and the very low ghosting in the brighter maps, this makes for a really, really enjoyable gaming experience. And if you're on a really tight budget, well, this thing punches way above its pay grade. With that, let's move on to the number 4 spot. And this is the Alienware AW2724DM, typically priced under 300 bucks. Now again, this one fluctuates on sale. Now I can't really give an exact number, so check the links below for current pricing, but a lot of times you can get a really good deal on this monitor. This also has a 27-inch screen size. This now uses an IPS panel. This is 180 Hz and has FreeSync Premium Pro, which is awesome because that allows for HDR and real refresh rate to be on at the same time. This also works flawlessly with G-Sync, which is to be expected. For console compatibility, here it is, but let's talk brightness, colors, and HDR. Brightness in SDR is around 420 to 430 nits of brightness, and this is a great brightness. It's enough to battle reflections and make the colors look nice and vibrant. In HDR, this manages to go up to a whopping 650 nits of full screen brightness. That's not even just in the highlights, that's your full screen brightness. So if you guys like bright monitors, well, this one is. Now, HDR is something I actually used quite a lot with this monitor as it increases the overall screen brightness, but it also takes advantage of that wider color gamut. This covers 95% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, which is very impressive, especially with what you can usually get this on sale for, but check the links below. It's pretty much typically just always on sale, but the price does fluctuate. Really awesome to have that wide coverage and brightness at this price. Let's talk gameplay experience. Ghosting. Well, obviously, because this is a VA panel, it is very good here. It is extraordinarily low. This is basically crystal clear ghosting. Even with fast whips and pans, smearing is incredibly minimal, and 99% of you will not notice any ghosting in game. It's that low, it's that impressive, it's really good. For the overall gameplay experience in game, this thing is beautiful, especially when you're in HDR. You're getting deep colors, but also fantastic vibrancy due to that really, really bright backlight. And at the same time, phenomenal motion clarity, regardless of how fast paced you play. Even if you play COD, this is an excellent monitor. But with that, let's move on to the number 3 spot, which is the AOC Q27G3XMN, coming in at a price tag of $279. $27.99. This is one of the most beautiful monitors you're ever going to get for this price point. That's because, well, this is a 27-inch screen size, but this is a VA panel. Not just any VA panel though, this is a mini LED lit VA panel with 336 local dimming zones, which is seriously incredible. And this is a fairly unknown monitor, but it's one of the best, especially if you're kind of like in the budget space, but you want beauty. This has a 180 Hz refresh rate and has FreeSync that works well with G-Sync. For console compatibility, here it is. With that, brightness and colors and HDR, because yeah. Brightness in SDR here managed to hit a whopping 560 nits of brightness, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a very bright monitor. But that doesn't tell the whole story, because in HDR, well, you're able to take advantage of that full 96% of the DCI-P3 color space. You have wide gamut coverage, like wider than most monitors, as well as having an HDR 1000 rating. So gaming in HDR is really enjoyable. Colors in game look very vibrant, saturated, and beautiful. And because of those local dimming zones, the black labels are amazing to get that depth, like an OLED, which is crazy at this price point. You're definitely not gonna get a more beautiful monitor at this price. It's not gonna happen. All right, but because this is a VA panel, what about ghosting? Well, honestly, it's impressive here. It's insane for the price tag. Now, there is still ghosting, but in brighter scenes, there's minimal ghosting. Still there, but it's minimal. There is more ghosting in the darker scenes, which is to be expected as this is a VA panel. However, for me, in game, this was not an issue. And I had an amazing time playing games, shocked with just the insane OLED-like black levels and crazy vibrancy of the colors. That on its own is not crazy, right? Beautiful monitor, but for the price tag, the fact that you get a mini LED, it's wild to have it at this price. And if you want a true HDR gaming experience, this is the cheapest way you can get it, and it's still very good. You'll have to deal with a little bit of ghosting, but it's nothing crazy here. However, if you're more prioritizing speed over beauty, that brings us on to the number 2 spot. And that is the Gigabyte M27Q X. Now this is priced at $449.99, but it now is pretty typically and constantly on sale for like the mid 300 price. If you want current price, links below. People get mad at me for that. I can't control if they change the price. But this monitor is again a 27-inch screen size. This is an IPS panel, but now it hits 240 Hertz. This has FreeSync Premium that works well with G-Sync, and for console compatibility, well, here it is. But what about the brightness? Well, in SDR, this hits around 430 nits of brightness, and in HDR, this bumps up the overall screen brightness up to about 480 nits, which is great. As for colors, this covers 92.4% of the DCI-P3 color space and outputs 10 bits of colors at its full resolution and refresh rate. This also seems to be factory calibrated, as the color accuracy is very good out of the box. So if you wanted to use this for like editing or Photoshop or like content creation, but you also wanted a fast monitor that can game on, that also doesn't break the bank, it's a great one. As for beauty in game, colors are vibrant and, like I said, they're accurate, which is impressive. This also battles reflections really well, and it's overall a very enjoyable gaming experience, still getting awesome brightness and vibrant colors, but with that much faster 240 Hz refresh rate. You're not gonna get beauty like the previous monitor, like the AOC. That's just not gonna happen. That's not what this monitor is, but you're still getting great viewing angles. And it's an IPS panel, so it can literally last for as long as you wanna keep it. But because this is about speed, let's talk about it. Ghosting. Well, this is an IPS panel. It's great. The best setting here is balanced, which has extremely little ghosting paired with that 240 Hz refresh rate, making this a very super fluid, clear gaming experience. If that's what you're prioritizing, things like CSGO, Valorant, things like that, you can obviously get a crazy high refresh rate gaming monitor, but this one strikes a really good balance at 1440p, giving 240 Hz, but not breaking the bank. Even though you're prioritizing speed here, you're not losing beautiful colors and brightness. You're still getting both of those, which is great. But with that, let's move on to the number 1 best 1440p gaming monitor of 2025. This is the Asus XG27ACDNG. This comes in at a price point of $699.99 at the time of filming. This has a 27-inch screen size, but the panel type now is a quantum dot OLED. This also hits 360 Hz and is FreeSync Premium Pro, which again means variable refresh rate and HDR at the same time. This also works flawlessly with G-Sync. Console compatibility is great, it's right here. But the reason I recommend the Asus XG27ACDNG specifically is the brightness and the overall calibration when compared to the competitors, which use the same panel. This Asus is the best one to buy. This is the single brightest variant of the quantum dot OLED panel that I've tested. This comes in at a whopping 405 nits of brightness. That's full screen brightness. That's not just highlights. That's an SDR that is super impressive. That's by far beating all of the other competition, even though it's the same panel. That's why this Asus one is the best. Now, because of how OLEDs function, they're visually gonna look brighter than they are when compared to other monitors like IPS or VA. If you hear 300 nits, a 300 nit OLED is gonna be different visually to your eyes. So 405 nits is a crap ton of brightness for this quantum dot OLED. HDR is also amazing here, having the best amount of control over the settings in HDR that I've ever used on any monitor ever. It's really impressive. This is probably the most beautiful monitor you've ever seen or used, with a whopping 99.3% coverage of the DCI-P3 color gamut. However, this paired with a glossy finish, which increases clarity, contrast ratio, and vibrancy of colors, and this is a visual change, this just makes for mind-meltingly beautiful colors, but also amazing screen clarity, and obviously that infinite contrast ratio, because the actual pixels are turning off, well, that it displays a true, deep, dark, inky black when you're in a dimly lit room. With that, let's talk ghosting and gameplay. How is it? Well, it's an OLED. The ghosting here is absolutely crystal clear. It has basically instantaneous pixel response times. The gameplay experience on this is the best on the list. In-game, the image is visually stunning with lifelike clarity and an amazing depth due to the black levels and that glossy finish. But at the same time, you don't give up any sort of speed, as this is the fastest monitor on the list with a 360Hz refresh rate and the best motion clarity technology that is currently capable, like the whole industry, all monitors. This is currently the best 1440p gaming monitor in the entire world, and it's a dang good price considering that. But again, if you want to check out any of the 5 gaming monitors in this video, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. And if you do end up getting the Asus, check out this review right here. That does go over settings, so even if you're already set on the Asus, this is still a good video to watch, as it'll kind of go through some of the settings that you really should turn on if you do get it. This is a consumer tech review, and I'll see you guys in the next video.